The oligarchs, the Anglo-American establishment, have written hundreds of books, thousands of white papers, bragging about the system they're setting up. And people 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago would warn the public, they would laugh at them. But because people have been out there telling the truth, now that world government's being openly announced, people are going, whoa, this was real, and they're seeing that it's predatory. You know, I get these emails all the time about, it'll be like Star Trek. I'm a humanist. It's the next level of humanity. No more wars. We'll all be together. No, it's a global government waging war on you, humanity. That's what these people out there that support world government, the useful idiots, don't understand. And powerful words from Catherine Austin Fitts at the end of that segment saying, I'd rather die than be in the New World Order. I wanted her to be able to finish that statement and then continue through this segment and the next. Go ahead, Catherine.
Well, what I was saying was I was in the middle of litigation in Washington in 1998 when I made the decision. And, Alex, everything was corrupt. I was dealing with folks from the Department of Justice and the courts and my own attorneys, and it just went on and on and on and on. And there was, at one point, I finally realized these people don't believe in the law of any kind. You know, they just... it's what Leonard Cohen said, they're blinded by the beauty of their weapons. And ultimately, an economy and a civilization can't be based on force and greed. That's not enough to keep something going. And, if you look at the great empires throughout history, they had something more than simply guns and greed. And so, and I remember saying, look, we need another plan. This is not going to work, and I would rather be dead than be part of it because it's too perverted. I mean, it's just, if you look at the sexual practices, if you look at the cultural practices, it's just too perverted. Now, let me speak in defense of some of the top guys. What they say is the crowd always votes with the criminals. You know the story of the crucifixion. You were talking about Jesus and the money changer. Jesus gets hauled off by the Romans at the request of the priest.
Give us Barabbas.
Right, and the Romans know it's very bad karma to kill Jesus, so they offer the crowd the option of the criminal or Jesus, and the crowd lets the criminal off. And if you look throughout history, what the guys at the top will say, look, the crowd is easy to manipulate. The guy that will buy them with their own money always wins. And so that's what I was
about to say. I've had high-level elitists openly tell me over the years, look, Alex, this is the way the world is. You might as well join it and try to do some good in the evil system because this is just the way it is. But once you have that attitude, it just races downhill into Nazi Germany.
Right, and that's the problem. And suddenly, it's funny, I gave a presentation in London many years ago about sort of what was happening in this country, and there was a guy who I'm pretty sure they had sort of sent over to discredit me after I spoke. And I gave a paper called The Myth of the Rule of Law, which is quite good, and it was quite fair and everything. And this guy just turned redder and redder as he was listening to me speak. And finally, when it was over, he just burst out and he said, "You don't understand." He said, we can't depend on people to be responsible. So, so we just can't depend on them to be responsible. And I turned to him and I said, so that's why you destroy all the people who are? And because really all this has been used to justify just taking and theft and bad behavior on their part. And Alex, he jumped up and walked out of the conference and never came back, so I guess he figured he couldn't discredit me and was instead deeply disturbed. But there is a chicken and egg problem, and that's why I believe that significant efforts in the grassroots to shift this thing can shift it, because there's so many people who work in government and corporations and large organizations who don't want it to go to this. They don't want a slavery system.
Yeah, people who have children and people who love humanity. I mean, I've seen so many people who've been abused who then become abusers. It's like, well, I've been cheated, so I'm going to cheat somebody else. But then when I get cheated, I fight to stop others from being cheated. I mean, there's just so many twisted people out there. We'll be back. Final segment with our guest. Catherine Austin Fitts is our guest. Final segment. Catherine, there's this article in the London Guardian today, new global FAT tax to rein in banks, and they say it's a VAT on all transactions, and the nations are all passing laws to comply. Gordon Brown says it's a global governance, and the top banks will now put taxes on all other financial transactions and give themselves the money, and they're billing it all over the news as a way to get the rich bankers. I mean, they really are slick how they pass all their different takeover operations in the name of getting the rich guys. I mean, they are really duplicitous, but I guess they've got the Guardian and the AP and others working for them.
The Matrix is trillions of dollars are spent on getting the Matrix to look, Disney World has taught these guys a lot. So, but there's a great amount of money made to make the system look legitimate, up to and including the lawsuit against Goldman Sachs.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to ask you about that. We're almost out of time. I believe it's because there's so much heat. It's civil. They can now have a 3-4 year investigation, give somebody a $5 million fine, slap somebody on the wrist, and use the investigation to smokescreen all the state investigations. Well,
I think it's complex. I think there are multiple agendas going on, but there's no doubt about it. I think the reason this one got through is these latest polls that show Ron Paul, even with Obama or the Tea Party representing most American people more than either political party. I think Washington is in real trouble, and Washington is trying to say, no, this wasn't us, this was Wall Street, which is clearly a bunch of bunk. But coming into the election, Washington has a real problem. The Democrats have a real problem, because if you look at the Glass-Steagall and derivatives, it was all Rubin and Clinton. And we see literally Clinton in testimony, this last week saying, oh, I was wrong to listen to Rubin and Summers, hint, hint, the Goldman guys. So you've got I call it the Midianite thing after the story in the Old Testament of the Midianites taking over Israel, and Gideon's army attacks, and the Midianites jump up in the dark and kill each other. And we're literally watching the Midianites kill each other now as they start looking for scapegoats coming in the election.
So you're saying it's so bad for them, they may even throw a few of their minions overboard?
Oh, they're going to throw a lot, and that's the opportunity. If you make a deck of cards, I want you to make a deck of cards that are basically the 50 most ridiculous people in the New World Order and make fun of them, because the more we make fun, the ones who are going to get shot are the ones we make fun of. They have excess capacity. So what you're going to watch is they're going to start turning against each other.
Yeah, because really they're all a bunch of hateful creatures anyways. Any excuse to, well, if I throw him over, I'll move up the pyramid.
Right, there's no loyalty among rats, and that is our opportunity. If we can be part of something, and that's what I said before, there are so many wonderful people who are working in government, or working in large corporations, or working in state and local government that are looking at what is going on. They're absolutely appalled, and they need more and more of us offering something which is constitutional, which is lawful, and which is wealth building to attract them into.
We've only got 1 minute left. Do you agree with me that they're setting the stage for false flag terror to be blamed on Tea Parties? I mean, they're really, really beating the drum right now.
They're trying so hard, and the harder they try, the more ridiculous they look. And so they're going to keep trying. It's going to fail completely, and I hope they just keep talking that way, because the more they talk that way, the funnier they look.
It is getting ridiculous. It is getting ridiculous when you say, you don't like the banks looting you. You hate black people. You want to blow up federal buildings.
It's not working. It's not working. So I hope they keep doing it, because the reason Ron Paul is pulled into is head to head now with Obama is because of these tactics and how they're failing. People are smart, Alex. It is amazing how little violence you see across this country. It is amazing, because people have learned that will be used the wrong way, and so people are really smart about how they are exercising their disobedience to the New World Order. So, we're for law, we're for wealth, and they're against it. And,
absolutely,
and that's where
Catherine. We're out of time. Incredible interview. Thank you for spending time with us. God bless you.
Alex, you're the best.